Walk with me, walk with me, walk with me. Let's walk the talk.
Welcome back. We have seen the effects of trauma, the causes, and now we are checking on what or where can trauma lead. Tabitha,
Yeah.
the issue to do with trauma
Yeah.
is too wide.
Yes.
And as we have seen the effects and the signs,
Yes.
now I would like us to see where can trauma lead to.
Yeah. Trauma can make you feel hopeless and helpless. You can feel arrested because of trauma, and we don't want you to reach there. At the same time, let's say for example, if you're working overseas and you came and you were tested and you are positive, you might feel like, I don't want to go back there. But you know what, maybe you are continuing with your academics. Just remember, this is just a pandemic. It is passing, and very soon it's going to be over everywhere. So it means what? You just have to continue with your normal life. Therefore, we don't want you to reach to a point where you can't continue with life. So trauma can lead someone to severe depression, where you are in low mood, where you don't want to interact with people. At the same time, it can lead you to suicide. And you know what, you really matter. You really matter to your parents, you really matter to your brothers, to your sisters, and even if you are a parent, you matter to your children, and we don't want to lose you. Therefore, don't make this trauma look like it want to take your life. Please don't take away your life, while you can talk to other people and interact and embrace life and continue with life. Yes.
Relating trauma with depression, especially in the current season we are in,
Yes.
there is an issue of isolation.
Yes.
And this is a case whereby I'm seeing a traumatized person.
Yes.
No, you are isolated.
Yes.
They are 14 days or 21 days also.
Yes.
After those days, then you are out of isolation.
Yes.
You've now come, it's like now you are being reintroduced to the society
Yes.
and to the family.
Yes.
Nobody want to be associated with you.
Yes.
Only because you are a corona person.
Yes.
Tabitha.
You know what, Kenyan, we need to reduce stigma. Even if your friend, your neighbor, your relative has tested COVID-19 positive, by the time the hospital management have allowed this patient to go back to the community, they are at no threat to you. It's good for you to understand that this person doesn't mean that since he tested positive, he's going to remain positive. In fact, they are allowed to go back to the community after they have been tested, I think more than 2 times, to show they are negative. Therefore, this person is not a threat. At the same time, when they come home, embrace them. At the same time, remember to accept them the way they are. Remember, so much has changed. Maybe this person used to be the supplier of everything, and right now, because he's been away for a whole month, he doesn't have finances. Accept them the way they are. We don't want women running away because the husband was positive, and then you are like, I'm going to get married to someone else. We don't want homes breaking. Why? It's going to increase the trauma, and we want this trauma to be as much less as possible. So we accept them the way they are, and we embrace them. They are very important people. We help them to cope. We help them to begin life. If their houses were already closed because they had not paid, we assist them as a community to regain, to get back to normal, to make their life to be as near normal as possible. At the same time, if you have a relative who is already in the hospital, why? Because he tested positive, make an effort to just call and find out, how are you doing today? Are you okay? Show them that you care. And that is one way of reducing that stigma because they feel I have relevant other people who care about me. It is us who will make them feel they are people. Otherwise, some of them are feeling so bad when they are there, and we don't want them to feel so traumatized. We want the trauma to be less by the time this pandemic is over.
Going back to the triggers of trauma,
Yes.
I pick something we said,
Yes.
and a good point,
Yes.
that sexual harassment can cause trauma.
Yes.
And I find sometimes it's not that much easy
Yeah.
for someone to speak about he or she was harassed sexually.
Sexually,
Because I understand it can either occur to both men
Yeah.
and women.
Yes.
And now you find someone is suffering through that. It happened
Yes.
maybe during the childhood,
Mm-hmm.
or rather even being a grown-up person.
Yes.
But there is not that one is not in a position to speak out.
Yes.
And now this individual is suffering trauma
Yes.
out of the abuse.
Yes.
Could be Tabitha.
Yeah.
You can take us through just in a few minutes
Yeah.
how to let these people speak out,
Yes.
so that one can identify
Yes.
what is the cause of this trauma.
Yes. For example, let's say like you are sexually abused when you are very young. This is very traumatizing. It is horrifying, and maybe you just woke up and things were bad. If it is the boys, maybe they were sexually abused through the we call it through the anus,
Yeah.
and or even like when you are young, there are some men who will tell the small children to suck it.
Exactly.
And you know that one can really cause trauma by the end of the day, and you need help. Even as you grow up, you grow with a lot of bitterness, a lot of unforgiving, a lot of you can really be depressed. And you know, as a result of this, you were saying trauma can present itself later in future in a different way. For example, you might find someone who is always very much angry, and when you try to trace it, if this person can really take time and talk about it, you'll find the root in the trauma. Or the way I was saying that you can find someone who is abusing drugs, and when you trace the history, you are going to get a history of trauma. Like for example, I was saying there are tribes where the children are paternal, where after the mother has given birth and they are not staying together, this child will be taken to the father even at the age of 2, and already because of that separation anxiety, later the child becomes so traumatized and grows with a lot of bitterness. And sometimes you find these are the children sometimes we call social delinquent in the society, but when you trace it, you trace the root in the trauma. And that is why we are saying trauma can really cause a lot of things to happen. Even prostitution sometimes can be traced in the trauma that someone.
You mean prostitution can be the root cause of trauma?
Trauma can cause prostitution.
How?
You know, whatever happened to this person,
Yeah.
the person felt a lot of pain initially, a lot of bitterness, and now maybe this person has grown with a low self-esteem and now want to prove to the world who I am. So he's not having that sex to enjoy, but maybe he's trying to prove who she is.
She want to prove something.
Yes, but if you can sit down with this person and try to, you're not judging the person, and you allow the person to open up, you are likely to trace maybe that prostitution somewhere this person was traumatized. Yeah.
Now, the society we are in,
Yeah.
sometimes we misinterpret these behaviors.
Yes.
She is in prostitution
Yes.
because it's demonic.
Yes.
It's a demon in her.
Yes.
How can we help now the society to understand that some of the behaviors that we are seeing, mostly in our young people,
Yes.
it is out of a traumatizing event?
Yeah, it's good for us to understand. When we understand trauma, that's I usually say, like, for example, if you as a man, you marry a lady who has a child, kindly embrace that child as your very own, such that if you are treating them, let it be fair. Otherwise, this child is going to be very much traumatized. There's one of the lady who was treating her child so very partially. Why? Because she's been married and this man has not embraced the girl, and now whenever they want to go home, they just go home with the children this man has seared, but this girl is left at home, and this child is very bitter. So what are you going to see tomorrow in future? A very bitter person, a very angry person, someone who is presenting in other very weird way. And if this child is not taken care of, maybe through counseling, several hours of counseling, so that she can accept herself, because maybe this person is like, why was I born? Why was I born just to suffer like this? And as a result, this child might start doing other things. And that's why even these people you find joining gangs to just do weird things, or even to kill people or to steal, some of them you can trace again in the trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
In other words, trauma carries a lot.
It carries a lot.
But sometimes we tend to ignore these things.
Yes, we tend to ignore.
Now, you are in this field.
Yes.
Counseling field.
Yes.
You are a nurse.
Yes.
And I understand these are the cases that you receive.
Yes.
So much.
Yes.
What is your take? And especially related
Yes.
to the current season that you are in.
Right now, okay, fine. We are in this pandemic, Corona or COVID-19 pandemic. And this is my message to you Kenyans, that we need to embrace people who have been tested positive, because very soon, even if you're positive, very soon you're going to turn negative. We need to accept them. We don't need to stigmatize them. We need to accept them the way they are. We don't need to name them, this is the corona person. Mm-hmm. No. Why? Because we want to reduce the stigma. We need to reduce this trauma. We just need to embrace them the way they are. At the same time, you Kenyan, you are the ones who is going to make our people who have tested positive to continue with life. Because I don't want to imagine somebody has gone through all this testing, has come out negative, and now the person goes and commits suicide. Why? Because the society is so harsh and has refused to accept this person. So please, community, let us accept them back when they come back, so that we reduce the stigma and we help them cope with life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where can we get you?
Tabitha Matekwa on Facebook. I still use Tabitha Matekwa. My telephone number is 0727 74 79 87. I work in Kenyatta Hospital. I work in the dialysis unit. I take care of our patients who are on dialysis, who have kidney failure, those patients who are planning for kidney transplant, and I help the family and the patient to cope. Thank you.
Thank you. This is not the time to stigmatize anyone. It is not the time to put a blame game. It is not even the time to say that you cannot get sick. Rather, it is a time to embrace each and every one of us, handle everyone with a lot of care, and more so, share the little that you have. This pandemic will be over. It is just for a season. Until next time, I'm always your host, RK Favored. Bye.
Walk with